Yes, we have discovered severe genetic dysregulation in mRNA injured individuals. We have compared a large control blood sample of their gene profiles of 800 healthy individuals pre-COVID, completely unaffected by spike profiles. And we compared that large control group to freshly injured individuals. So these 10 individuals, seven of them actually, they received mRNA injection and then within a year developed new onset cancers. They were completely healthy before. And then we had three injured individuals, cardiovascular, long vaccine syndrome. And so we did what's called gene expression comparisons. And so we actually looked and saw that there was thousands of dysregulated gene expressions in the mRNA injured individuals. And this is linked to mitochondrial failure, oncogenic activations. So it was making these gene expressions abnormal that are linked to cancer suppression genes. So cancers are not being suppressed, and as well as immune dysregulation. And so this is the first study that actually shows long-term genetic disruptions in the vaccinated. So basically what this study showed was molecularly, so in the inner workings of the cell, microscopically, there is chaos. There is molecular chaos going on. And this is going to probably result in so many different issues. And this is probably the biological mechanism that is resulting in many of the cardiovascular, neurological, carcinogenic, system-wide issues we are seeing in the vaccinated. And a lot of this is actually, we believe, probably due to possibly genomic integration of the DNA plasmids left over from the manufacturing process. The spike DNA is probably integrating. And so this is not good. This is a Sentinel report, or this is a landmark report where we are actually the first to report this. So now we need to further investigate, and we have to really dig deep and see exactly what is happening to the population. We have to remember over 70% of the global population received COVID vaccines. 80% of Americans received mRNA shots. Our governments have corrupted the genetic integrity of their own populations.
A breaking new study has been released showing mRNA injections induce severe, long-lasting genetic disruption linked to cancer and chronic disease. Not only is this a complete disaster for those who received the COVID shots, but it's a complete disaster for any mRNA injection recipients and those around them who they shed on. Epidemiologist and administrator at the McCullough Foundation, Nicolas Hulscher, joins us now to discuss. Nick Hulscher, thank you so much for joining us today. We appreciate you being here.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Well, this is a shocking study, surely something that all of us suspected, but now we have it on paper. Talk to us about the mRNA injections inducing severe, long-lasting genetic disruption linked to cancer and chronic disease.
Yes, we have discovered severe genetic dysregulation in mRNA injured individuals. This study was headed by Neo7 Bioscience, Dr. John Catanzaro, as well as the McCullough Foundation, University of North Texas, as well as Medicinal Genomics with Kevin McKernan. And we have compared a large control blood sample of their gene profiles of 800 healthy individuals pre-COVID. So these blood samples were collected not by us, but they were uploaded to accredited servers around 2016. So we were comparing this to completely unaffected by spike profiles, and we compared that large control group to freshly injured individuals. So these 10 individuals, seven of them actually, they received mRNA injection and then within a year developed new onset cancers. They were completely healthy before. And then we had three injured individuals, cardiovascular, long vaccine syndrome. And so we did what's called gene expression comparisons. And so we actually looked and saw that there was thousands of dysregulated gene expressions in the mRNA injured individuals. And this is linked to mitochondrial failure, oncogenic activations. So it was making these gene expressions abnormal that are linked to cancer suppression genes. So cancers are not being suppressed, and as well as immune dysregulation. And so this is the first study that actually shows long-term genetic disruptions in the vaccinated.
What are all of the implications of these genetic disruptions? Obviously, we have cancer and immune dysregulation. What else can come of those things, Nick?
Yeah, so basically what this study showed was molecularly, so in the inner workings of the cell, microscopically, there is chaos. There is molecular chaos going on. And this is going to probably result in so many different issues. And this is probably the biological mechanism that is resulting in many of the cardiovascular, neurological, carcinogenic, system-wide issues we are seeing in the vaccinated. And a lot of this is actually, we believe, probably due to possibly genomic integration of the DNA plasmids left over from the manufacturing process. The spike DNA is probably integrating. And so this is not good. This is a Sentinel report, or this is a landmark report where we are actually the first to report this. So now we need to further investigate, and we have to really dig deep and see exactly what is happening to the population. We have to remember over 70% of the global population received COVID vaccines, 80% of Americans received mRNA shots. Our governments have corrupted the genetic integrity of their own populations.
It's really, really alarming, particularly considering that these are still in circulation. I want to talk to you about the what this means for individuals as far as shedding goes as well, but we will get to that. I want to ask you first about this new study. mRNA boosters trigger dangerous immune and blood abnormalities within 48 hours in healthy young adults. So this is specifically about boosters. Talk to us about these findings.
Yes, these healthy young adults, so they were 20 to 30 years old. They actually gave them the third Pfizer booster injection. This is mRNA. And they actually looked in their blood, they looked at all these biomarkers 48 hours after injection. And what did they find? They found increased D dimer. So that means there's blood clotting going on, coagulation activities in the blood shortly after injection. You see there also as well, immune function drops off, lymphocytes decreased. And so what that means is there's immune suppression going on. And then you also had increase in inflammatory markers, the CRP, which indicates there is systemic inflammation. And this is just 48 hours after the injection in healthy people. So this just kind of reaffirms what we've known, that this is doing bad things to people immediately after injection. Now, the one part the study did not do was measure these same markers 180 days after. They measured the antibodies 180 days after, but not these other markers. But regardless, we know the mRNA injections do induce dangerous blood abnormalities as well as immune abnormalities.
I want to ask you about the what's happening with the pets as well, because here's what people might be thinking. They might be thinking, it's okay, I'm not going to get these injections. I'm never going to get mRNA in my life, and they can roll out as many as they want. I will never, ever do this. But you recently shared, and this is going off the back of something that you were talking about in April, but you recently shared that our pets are actively being used as self-amplifying mRNA vectors. Merck's Nobivac, sorry, NXT was silently approved by the USDA with no real safety data. These shots likely shed SAM-RNA SA mRNA and toxic antigens onto human owners across the country without consent. So the point here is that I'm trying to get to, Nick, is that people who are still getting these shots just going off this study about the long-lasting genetic disruption, if anyone's still getting these shots, is that potentially shedding to the human population? And then talk to us about the pets.
Yes, yes. People who have received these shots, and if they did experience genomic integration of any of these vaccine components, they are probably still producing either large or small quantities of spike protein or other frame shifted proteins. And they could possibly, definitely, be shedding this via exosomes through breath or bodily fluids. So, yeah, we do believe there is definitely this distinct possibility of shedding, even long term after injection. But regarding the pets, appears to be a multi front battle going on here. They're not just attacking directly the human population, but the pets, our own pets, our dogs, our cats, the animals we love. They are now administering, the USDA did fully approve experimental self-amplifying RNA particle inoculations for dogs and cats for various different diseases in 2024. So since 2024, and it's widely available for online purchase, Merck is rolling out and veterinarians are injecting these self-amplifying RNA particles into pets. This can probably shed onto human owners through biological fluids or through their breath. We have no clue. They haven't studied any of this. Literally no testing. The safety data that they claim they used for this approval was data on file. They don't tell us what it is. So, completely untested, experimental, and now exposing all pet owners to these extraordinarily dangerous self amplifying particles.
So we're talking about the reason I bring up all of these three things is because it's relevant to the first story we just covered, the first study that you discussed. When we're talking about people unknowingly injecting their pets, they could be getting exposed to long-term genetic disruption through their dog giving them a kiss. Like this is where we're at right now. Am I summarizing that correctly?
This appears to be where we're at. We have to remember, again, no testing, so we really don't know, but we can assume as these RNA particles self amplify in our pets and they start to produce large amounts of synthetic toxic antigens, we would expect it to result and end up in their bodily fluids or in their secretions. That is not anything out of the ordinary. And so I would expect, yes, if they did receive this Merck product, it would not be surprising that it is indeed transferring to the human owners.
Wow. And those human owners have no guarantee that this is not going to cause long-term genetic dysfunction in their bodies. They could literally end up with cancer from their pet.
It's possible. It's possible. Because and one other thing. So not only will you have that danger, but you have the danger of this novel synthetic self-amplifying particle that's like a virus recombining with wild viruses and causing all sorts of mutants that we have no clue what will happen. And so
Can you elaborate on that? What do you mean by recombining with wild viruses?
So it appears that there is a possibility that self-amplifying RNA can possibly interact with wild viruses. So just really any virus in the wild, and kind of exchange genetics and come up with a new mutant hybrid pathogen. We have no clue what it can do. That they have not tested this, and so there's so many profound implications of unleashing this that we just don't know. But they have to be taken off the market immediately, and then this should have all been studied before approval.
Right. Right, which is, by the way, what we were promised was going to happen. We were going to have studies happen before anything was approved, and yet we're seeing things like this continuing to be approved. It's absolutely inexcusable, in my opinion, Nick. What should the people be doing? Because a lot of people have sort of backed off from the mRNA, battle, I guess, because they feel like, well, we're not subjected to mandates anymore. It doesn't matter, which is why I keep harping on about this shedding issue. You're going to the vet is recommending your routine vaccines for your pet, and that could potentially give you long-term genetic disruption. This is a battle that is currently still active. So what should people be doing, Nick?
People should, if they have pets, ask your vet. Are they giving your pet the RNA or mRNA injections? Because they're not only rolling out those self-amplifying ones, there's all sorts of mRNA ones on the pipeline for pets. You got to ask them. And preferably, I wouldn't even give your pet any of these toxic injections at this point. We know it's linked to all sorts of issues and cancers and autoimmune diseases in pets. So I'd be careful with that as well. But that's with our pets. Protect your pets, protect yourself via that way. But also regarding these mRNA injections, now that we know that they have disrupted the genetic integrity of a large proportion of the population, we have to refuse those. We have to stop this experiment on humanity immediately, and start addressing this and start finding out ways how to reverse this.
Absolutely, because we're at that point where to me, Nick, I see this and I think there is so much evidence of how harmful this is, not only to the people that have received them or are continuing to receive them, but the unwilling participants in this gross experiment that are exposed to shedding. And there's just no informed consent for the rest of the population. They need to come off the market immediately. Nick Hulscher, we are so grateful for all of your continued work on this. I highly encourage everyone to follow you on X at Nick Hulscher. That's at Nick Hulscher. You can also subscribe to thefocalpoints.com. This is Nick's Substack, where he keeps everyone up to date on all of these developments, these new studies that come out, and hopefully people are talking to their legislators with the material that you're providing them, Nick, because this is the ammunition that we need to get this off the market. There is no other solution at this point. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thanks for having me.